Just here.
Becky took it. No, it was on Becky's spot. My hands are free. I even brought my own pen. Oh, seriously? Yeah, but it's because I need something.
You asked me.
Okay, we're live again.
15 years
Oh.
ago.
Sign for 25 people. We are live again, so it's 2 minutes early, so it's still a couple minutes before the board is called to order.
We're live right now.
But we're live right now.
All right then. We can now be friends. Can we? So I'll have to confront so that we can be friends again. That's right. Because nothing from the same. So the day without sunshine.
I can read it from here. I don't need my glasses. That's fine.
I just blow it up.
Look at mine. It's like, except for my phone.
She's a happy baby. Works at a daycare, so she takes her with her every day.
Oh.
So it really works out very
Sophie, are you available at 7:30 next Thursday morning? Oh, yes. Sorry, I'm teasing. I was doing that. I was teasing, like, come on. I was like, looks like Thursday, but I'm school. Yes.
That's right.
The junior class is having a meeting at 7:30. So I'm going to be there to speak with them about student rep opportunities. So if you're able to join me, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
I'm a little disappointed we don't have.
I know.
it.
Like, wow, I can do this.
Right?
I was like,
It's like they want to get this candy, they don't want to be under today. I'm like, yeah, I guess so I am now.
See if we're.
I know.
Proud.
Keep them in the truck. 'Cause I got I
6:31.
got another set from the VA.
Okay.
Those are at work.
the black rimmed.
Actually, they're brown with like cheetah. I used to- It went a little bit.
PCDs.
How the VA stepped up a little.
Yeah, we used to call them birth control.
Yeah, exactly. PCDs. Guaranteed no girl will ever talk to you.
Right.
You ready, Terrence? Great, thank you. Good evening, welcome to our September 1st, I can't even believe it, September 1st, regular school board meeting. We begin with a call to order, starting over here.
Teresa Garrett.
Beverly Bridge, West Gardner.
Nicole Medore.
Chris Mulholland, West Gardner.
Veronica Babcock.
Becky Fless,
Tony V. Gardner.
Matt Marshall.
Sophia Matthews. Alyssa Tracy.
Diane Potter,
Jim Lothridge.
administrative staff.
Pat Hopkins, Superintendent.
Karen Dwyer, Director of Technology.
Yes, you are, thank goodness. Welcome, everyone. We will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Seeing no public, we won't pause. Review and approval of the agenda minutes, prioritization of items and alteration of the established agenda format sequence as needed.
Yes, I have some additional changes. We sent out a revised agenda yesterday afternoon. In addition to what was posted, today we received a letter of resignation from Melanie Milazzo, a nutrition worker at the Pittston Randolph Consolidated School. That goes under correspondence. Under general information on page 2, we've hired Rudy Rudishan as a part-time ed tech 2 in the learning lab at the high school. And Mariah Adams, who will be the district ed tech at the Riverview Community School. And then I would also request that the old business on page 2 to discuss the strategic planning education action forum, that be moved on the agenda to immediately following this section, section 3, after you approve of the school board minutes. We have a board member who needs to leave, and so we'd like to be able to vote on that, so that person can leave. Yep.
I think Rudy will be great at that. I just want to comment on that.
Rudy was in that position full-time. And he retired, he resigned in June. And so we filled a half-time position with one of our teachers whose position was cut to half-time. And we haven't been able to fill the other half. So Rudy is coming back and working half-time.
That is so
Yes,
great.
He will be
He will
awesome.
be on fire.
Yes, he used to be a bus driver.
Well, and he was a
And
Latin
teach
teacher
Latin.
before that.
I went with him to Italy. I'll never forget it.
Nobody will. And then this person we just hired on the last agenda.
Yes.
Okay, just making
Yes, we
sure I
did.
understand. Okay. So, motion to approve the additions and adjustments.
So moved.
Moved by Alyssa, second by Matt. Questions or comments? All in favor? All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, approval of minutes of previous meetings, the regular board meeting of August 4th, special board meeting of August 17th, and the special board meeting reentry hearing on August 25th. Motion to approve. Moved by Tony, second by Teresa. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Strategic plan, and we moved it on the agenda because Tony is leaving tomorrow
I am, yes.
to take his youngest child to college. So it's an emotional couple of days, packing and making sure that you have everything and
What school?
She's going to school in Manhattan, New York Institute of
New
Technology.
York City.
Yeah, yeah, so trip to the big city.
Just like Maine.
exactly like me. She'll barely know the difference. So we wanted to be sure that he had time, the extra time with his family and
Thank you.
sure, absolutely. So we sent out the link to everyone and I'm believing that everybody watched it as was requested. And so I would like to entertain a motion to approve and move forward with the strategic plan.
So I would make that motion that we do that.
I would
Thank you,
second it.
Tony. Seconded by Alyssa. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Okay.
Opposed? Abstained? Okey-doke. And I'm guessing, Jim, that you're abstaining because you weren't here.
I didn't get enough on the internet to figure out what was going on. I would be doing a disservice to vote.
Absolutely.
So,
Just wanted to be sure. Thank you.
exactly.
Just want to be sure. Okey-doke. Recognitions and celebrations.
Yes, so would like to recognize the Calvary Foursquare Church of Gardner. They dropped off tons of school supplies
Nice.
for our students K through 12. And they provided us a little card that just said there were some supplies and personal hygiene items to help students in need this year good luck on the beginning of school. Have a wonderful year. So it was just really kind. And oftentimes when we have supplies, it's more targeted towards elementary. It was really nice that they made a point of targeting K through 12. So really appreciate that donation.
That's really great. Nice. All right, curriculum, I'm sorry, committee reports. And I don't-
Correspondence.
Correspondence, as written.
As written.
Committee reports, no meetings. Field committee meeting.
Yeah, I'll fill in, Hookfield. So we've met throughout the summer. We are indeed making progress. The modular unit that used to house some of the football gear is gone. That was removed last week. So we're really excited about that. I think we already talked to you or mentioned to you that the island that was down there, that has been removed. So that is out of there. Today, we had a company down looking at the fence. The fence is going to be pushed closer to the field. That will help generate some additional handicap parking. And it will update that area and update that fence. That fence was pretty old. We are now working on the recognition wall. We're really making sure that we identify everyone who donated and at what level they donated. So we are creating schematics right now in hopes that we'll be able to have that constructed this fall and to be able to put that up. What's hard is all the contractors are so busy that I can't guarantee that we'll have it up this fall, but that's what we're shooting for. I believe the ticket booths were supposed to be installed. I don't know whether they were.
They look to me.
Okay, good. Last time I was there, they were preparing the ground.
Oh, no, there's buildings there, yeah.
Okay.
And the fence was there too, I think that you were talking about.
Okay, great.
It looks
Yeah. Oh, good. We're having
gotta take another drive
inline
down there.
fence.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
supposed to be doing that.
They were there.
Good.
And the recognition wall, when you walk into the entrance for the football field where the ticket booths are, you'll go straight in front of you will be the wall. And it will be I think it's like 22 feet and then 2 wings off on the side, and they'll be like 9 feet each. And so I think that's what we're talking about now.
Will that look like a barrier?
Maybe.
Okay.
But we think.
I don't have a
it's
better
probably
idea.
the best location so that when
Mhm.
everyone enters, they're going to be able to see who donated and made that field a possibility. So.
Yeah, it looks really good down there. It had a glow up, as they would say.
Oh, good. And they got rid of that old pizza building, right? Isn't that what it was called?
The Pizza Shack.
Pizza Shack, that's gone.
Oh,
That's out of there.
great pizza, but bad building.
Yeah.
First home game.
What?
When's the first home game?
They had a home game. It was a preseason home game last Friday.
I know soccer has their first home game tomorrow.
Okay. Excellent. General information. It's all football.
Yeah, as listed, we are, again, still trying to fill some vacant spots, some ed tech positions. I will update you later on the positions that we still have open. We also have some staff transfers. We have a teacher that went from kindergarten to grade 5 over at Helen Thompson. We have the retirement of our head custodian at the high school, Tyrone. I think we talked about that last meeting. And so we're now moving Scott Brand, who was the head custodian at LER for years.
It's amazing.
So he's moving in.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And Tyrone will really be missed. He's
He
been
will be missed.
Such
He
a
will be
wonderful
missed.
guy.
Yeah.
All righty. Nominations.
So nominations, I'd like to, it's as written, but I'll just go through very quickly. We have Michelle Bossy. We're recommending her for speech and language pathologist.
I met her at open house, very nice.
Oh, good,
Yep.
good. And she's going to be at the middle school and the Pittston Randolph School. We have Christy Jernigan, who will be at the middle school in the math learning lab as a teacher. We have Linda Perret, who used to work for us as an ed tech. She's going to be at Helen Thompson in grade 4. We have Jessica Freeman, who will be a kindergarten teacher at Helen Thompson. We have Zachary Hubbard, who will be teaching social studies at the middle school. That is a 1-year position. We have Jerry Keisman, who will be teaching ELA at the middle school. And then we have Jamie Riggin, and that's actually Jamie, I believe, Riggin, and she is going to be the elementary nurse over at the Pittston Randolph School. But since we don't have a nurse for every single building this year, she will also be providing some coverage over at Riverview.
And is the lead nurse position, is that not any
We
longer?
do not have a lead nurse position. That was COVID,
Mhm.
through the COVID years. That was paid for by our federal dollars, and
Okay.
we do not have it this year.
That's fine, just checking.
At the math learning lab teacher is different from our coaches.
Yes. That is an intervention position for students versus the coach that is working with teachers. And the middle school coach position, math coach position has not been filled. So we're contracting some services so that we're still providing some of those supports, but it's going to have to look different this year. We couldn't fill the position.
Okay. So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve these as a bundle.
So moved.
Moved by and seconded by Veronica and Matt. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Motion carries. Great. Old business is done. New business. Water testing. Just a second.
So water testing, I shared with you already this information, but I just wanted to make sure that I got it on public record, right? And an official record here in the district. That at the Helen Thompson School, our water tested high for PFAS. The Helen Thompson School is the only school in the district that has a private well. All of our other schools run off of town, city water. And those tests came back well below the maximum of, the maximum is 20 parts per trillion. And so ours came in the first time, it was 31.9, and then we had to test it again. And that came in at 30.4. So it is above the maximum allowed, but it is not super high. I've certainly seen some schools that are struggling with numbers in the hundreds. So, ours are not that high, and Gabe is working with a local company to create a filtration system that will go in and it will bring the numbers well below the maximum. That filtration system will cost, I think it's approximately $10,000. Jim.
What specific item are we testing for?
PFAS. So the
I don't know.
PFAS, and that stands for per polyfluoroalkyl substances. So it's those
Forever chemicals.
forever chemicals that
Okay, I
farmers use.
understand now exactly. Okay,
Thank you.
got it.
Thank you. Yeah. And so because of where we're located at the school, we're at the bottom of the hill, so probably things flowed down from over the years from
Yeah, those are-
farms that are up there.
These are chemicals that are not naturally forming.
Correct.
Got it.
So, and I have informed the town office
Mhm.
in West Gardner so that they are aware as well.
Boiling, does that do anything?
The West Gardner's wonky too. I mean, my house is fine, but my neighbors built a new house, dug a new well, and then found out they got too much uranium in there.
Need the same amount.
And it's 200 meters away from my place.
Yeah.
That's what I was expecting, was something to do with uranium, because around here with so much granite, there is just, it is ubiquitous, it's every place.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
So at the present time, we are not using any of the water at the Helen Thompson School. It's all being trucked in. So all the water needed to cook, any drinking water, it's all bottled water that's being trucked in. As soon as we receive official approval from the Department of Education, the Department of Health and Human Services, we'll be able to probably have our filtration system in within a week.
Good, because that sounds like that's almost as expensive on an ongoing basis as the filtration system.
Yeah. Yep. So that's what I have. But I wanted to make sure that publicly I announced that we do have, indeed have. this system. And you should have received copies of the letters that I sent to parents.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah, sure did. All right, superintendent's report, board chair doesn't have one tonight.
Yeah, this may be the fastest
This is
meeting on
gonna be a
record,
record.
right?
Look at that.
All right,
Right.
so we'll see, right?
Stay through, yeah.
All right, so first day of school, we had the first day of school yesterday. It went really well for students in K through 9 today. We had our sophomores, juniors, and seniors join us. And on Tuesday, we'll have pre-K begin. Yesterday, it went really well. I spoke to administrators and they said it was incredibly smooth. Once we got beyond about 7:30, as our middle school and our high school students were arriving, that's when we had the rainstorm. That was interesting. I had planned to leave my house and go right to the middle school, and it was pouring, and the poor staff were out there with their umbrellas and they were getting soaked. So I decided to drive by and not insert myself into that mess. The traffic was backed up for about 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes. But once they got that flowing, it went well. And the traffic this morning was going through pretty quickly. So
Any major busing issues?
no major busing issues, beyond the fact that the afternoon bus left LER about 30 minutes late. So, which is unfortunately, it can be typical for the first few days of school, that the buses are just running late as students are trying to figure out what bus they're on, the new drivers, just making sure that they are picking up and dropping off at the right location. It just.
But they put out a note in timely fashion,
They
I
did.
saw, so that was
They
good.
did.
And
Yeah.
beeping and just, and not just driving by driveways.
And not driving by and going back. We only had one student that I was told of who got on, oh no, we had one elementary student who got on the wrong bus. So we figured that out and got them to the right school. And then we had 2 or 3 students that live on Northern Ave that are on the RSU 2 side that saw the bus and got on the bus. And as we were heading to the high school, realized, oops, we got on the wrong bus. So we had to help them so that they could get over to Hollowell. Those were the 2 major things that I heard, and they're really not that bad. I mean, we had other concerns with where bus pickup locations may be, but that's typical. That happens every year. So
That's hilarious.
That's fun.
they probably
They went
didn't
to
think
holidays.
so.
They probably didn't,
Poor
but
things,
But
yeah.
coming to an entirely different district.
Yeah. That moment of realization,
Right.
right?
Can I ask you 2 questions? So the first one, does the school, specifically the middle school, do they control the 15-mile-an-hour lights on the roadways?
No, we do not. That is controlled by a company. And we will send our calendar to the company. They have to go in, they have to make modifications to that system.
Okay.
And they're not always accurate. I know.
It's my own personal pet peeve, just one.
I know. I've spoken with Gabe, and unfortunately, that particular system, it's just not something that we can manage versus like at LER. We can control those lights. So when they're not flashing at the right time or on the right day, we can take care of that. We just can't for the middle school.
Is
And
it
it's
because it's a state
frustrating.
road or?
It's the system that we installed.
Can
at
we
that
buy
time
a
years ago.
bypass so that the administrator would have the ability to control them at school? No.
Yeah, they're not gonna sell that.
Yeah, if we want to put a new system in there and
Right.
I don't know how much that would cost. I would say it's pretty.
For that now?
I'm certain there is some sort of fee, but it would be a lot more expensive to install an updated system.
Plus, we didn't budget for the new filter system either.
Yeah, there are lots of things we didn't budget for.
Oh, I had a
Next.
second question. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, I'm
I
sorry.
just wondered if you could give us an update on the presence of SROs. Are they starting off the school year or how?
That is on my list.
Okay.
So
Go
no,
on.
no, I will tell you, I actually received word yesterday, sometime yesterday morning, that the SRO is scheduled to begin on September 12th. And we only have one SRO. We do not have two, right? So yeah, I was notified of that yesterday.
We know who it will be.
I assume it will be Sam Quintana.
Yeah.
To be an SRO, there is certain training
Yes, I
that's
know.
required, and he's the only one that has that training.
Oh, okay. No, I'm glad to have it.
Yeah.
Quick question, Pat, the STEP program at Helen Thompson, no issues. We got all the right people in place for that. Because we expanded it this year, right?
We have expanded it. We have not filled all of our positions. We have the steps and the stars over there.
That's the stars, that's what I'm trying to think of.
So stars, we have, and all the positions are filled at the present time. I will fill you in shortly on what we have for vacancies,
Mhm.
but this week, every position in that program was filled. Okay.
That's good news.
Not playing stump the chump.
No, it's just complicated. That's all. My hesitancy was because it's never straightforward.
Nothing is
It's just a
straightforward.
little complicated. Something that we're gonna do differently this school year, that I want to bring to your attention. For those of you who maybe were on the school board years ago, the administrators for 2-3 years would provide the board with a monthly report. And it was great so that board members could really hear exactly what was going on in each building. It became very overwhelming for the administrators with everything else that they were doing, that the board voted to cease that process and to not require them to do it anymore. I have really felt a growing disconnect between the board and what's going on in schools because you haven't had that report. So I have worked with the administrators this year to come up with an alternative plan that I just want to share with you. So what I'm proposing is that we create this template form that every administrator, lead administrator, has to provide 2 bullets. That's it. 2 bullets that will be managed from my office that will give you 2 academic highlights of the month. And there would be a section for K-5 and a section for 6-12. And they would each provide a maximum of two bullets. And then each month, we would have one administrator stand up and give you that report orally. So while you may have a written document, by reporting it orally, it informs the community as well about what is going on in the schools, and that they would rotate that responsibility. So one month, it would be one principal, another month, a different principal. So the responsibility doesn't fall on the same person. And same at the high school. You know, one month it might be Mr. Kempton, another month it might be Josh Farr, or it might be Sarah Sims, and then they would be responsible for reading and reporting what all of their colleagues listed as 2 highlights for that month. So I hope, does that sound okay? It's kind of a way again, so
Really
you know
good.
what's going on in the buildings.
Is there any way to add something to that report where they could give us a heads up where there may be a problem developing? And I don't know what it may be, maybe the roof over on wherever is leaking and they've just noticed it, or we're running out of a particular supply of whatever, or we're having a problem with, we're short on a position. It looks like we're gonna need another teacher for X, Y, or Z. Something where they, just to give us a little, I hate puff pieces, because all it does is, nobody's gonna say, this is going terrible. I'd like to have, and I don't want a negative report, but I'd like to know where there's something we could help with. That's all. I'm just.
So what I could do, Jim, I would see some of that as depending what it is, that actually could come from Gabe and me.
I'd like to see
in
it from a
terms-
principal. I'd like to know a principal's thought.
But yeah, let me have a conversation
Okay.
with them, but usually if there's an issue in a particular building, that is something that central office administration is wrapped into, because it's going to eventually, if it's an issue, it's gonna go to the board for as part of a budget proposal.
I
So,
like unfiltered
I'm sorry?
comments, frankly.
You filter way too much.
Almost like,
That's
Maybe the
my
best,
personal feeling.
Jim, maybe the best way to phrase it is challenges.
yeah. or
So
like-
it's not
That's fine.
necessarily anything negative.
Yeah.
But it's what the challenges have been for the last month, whether that's roster, whether that's tardiness or
6 months.
bus schedule.
And
or-
don't focus on infrastructure.
Yeah,
More on a
it's-
system
I
type
think,
of thing.
right, I think what he wants to hear is maybe the principal say, what have my challenges been for the last month? What are some things that have come harder than expected, or not gone as smoothly as we anticipated, and here's what we did to fix it.
Yeah.
Not necessarily negative ideas, but what the challenges have been. If you phrase it like that, I think that covers what you're trying to.
That's
Versus-
exactly what I'm trying to.
Okay, because I'm thinking more structural, but you're not saying not
No, I'm
necessarily
not trying to, I
structural.
know I picked the wrong one. I knew when I said leaky roof, I said, that's what I'm trying to get at, but
Okay,
it's, because that is a
It's
physical
Miranda
plant.
Right.
But I'm thinking about, maybe the design of the bus routes are off. That isn't that, I know that's, but at least a principal could be saying that that's what I've noticed. And I know they're gonna be talking to Gabe but I just like to know some of these things. A year from now, I won't care because it won't be here.
let me go back and speak with them to see how they feel about 2 academic positives and 1 challenge. And if that's too much, then maybe I'll cut it to 1 academic positive and 1 challenge. And if they don't have any challenges, then make it 2 positives.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
All right.
almost like when you're doing a group thought and you've got like a parking lot, it's
Right,
kind of like that
right.
idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've never
Okay.
been involved in a business or a situation where there isn't a challenge of some kind.
there are always absolutely challenges, absolutely. And so I will take you into remaining staff vacancies. So there's a challenge.
Be that first
Yeah.
challenge.
So there's a challenge.
Pat, I had one more quick question. I remember, and I don't know if COVID screwed this up, but I remember when they did all the principals did the state of the schools type speech. Did we get away from that with COVID? Because I know it was my first year, it might have been the second year we got it, and then we just kind of went away, but it was pretty all inclusive, and I think it happened February, March timeframe, something like that.
December. It
Okay.
happened around December, January, before we entered the budget season, so that board members did know what was going on. And yes, with COVID and everything, it
Okay.
just fell off the radar. But I will certainly let them know that you're interested in that.
Well, I am, I don't want to speak for everybody.
I thought that was very. very helpful.
It was enlightening the
Because it
first
broke
time I
down
heard
data,
it.
like numbers of students that are
Yes.
in this category,
Right.
homeless,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and stuff. Very eye-opening.
Sobering.
Yes,
Sobering, that's a good, yeah. Covers.
okay. I'm making a note so I don't forget to do that. All right, so current staff openings. We have 2 teaching positions open. So we still have a special education teacher position open over at the Pittston Randolph School. We also now have an elementary physical education teacher position open. We had a resignation Thursday before school started.
Yeah.
So we have those 2 openings. We have, as you noted, Becky, a food service worker position. The person resigned today. So we have food service
At the high
position
school.
over at Pittston Randolph that is open. I believe it's 5.5 hours. We have currently, I believe, 8 ed tech positions open. We have 2 district ed tech positions, they're ed tech ones. We have one at Pittston Randolph and one at Helen Thompson. At Helen Thompson, we need an ed tech 3 for our STARS program. So we're a bit shorthanded there. We are going to move someone from the resource room who's an ed tech 2. We're going to move them into steps because they really need the support right now. The ed tech 3 who is currently in the STARS program is going to be transferred over to Riverview, but we're not transferring that person to Riverview until we find a replacement. That's why I said it gets complicated, but presently it's fully staffed. At the middle school, we need an ed tech 1 in the behavioral program, an ed tech 1 life skills, and we need an ed tech 2 in the resource room. At the high school, we need an ed tech 2 in the behavioral program, and then district-wide, we still need a school psychologist. We are currently struggling with bus aides because we're short with ed techs. We don't have enough bodies to do bus aides. So Alicia Morris, your director of special services, has been doing lots of bus runs this week in the morning and in the afternoon to make sure that the buses are covered for the students who absolutely need to have a bus aide on them. We have, let's see, we need a head custodian at LER. We need a bus driver. We have a bus driver position that has not been filled. We need substitute bus drivers. We need substitute custodians. We have a custodian that is out on leave. And so we need that position. Otherwise, we'll be piecemealing with our current custodial staff. Of course, we need regular substitutes. Of course, we need ed tech substitutes. When I sent out the week before school started, I sent out the letter to families and I outlined the criteria for ed techs. And I put out a plea requesting those who are interested. It generated some interest. So I'm really excited about that. I think last month when I was here, we had 12 ed tech positions open and we're down to 8. So we're making some progress, right? But as you, Jim, asked about a challenge, it's a real challenge right now to run the schools without having these individuals. In our elementary schools, our elementary staff receive prep time when students are with another classroom for special, such as library, music, something like that, art, and they receive a half hour around lunch. So they get a 30-minute lunch and then they get 30 minutes for prep time. And that was given years ago in board policy to make sure that the amount of prep time they received was in alignment with the type of prep time, the amount of prep time available for high school and middle school staff. That means in order to give them that 30 minutes of prep time at lunch, we need bodies to be able to cover for lunch duties. And so that's a real challenge right now. In some of the buildings, there are not enough people to provide the coverage necessary for a lunch duty. So we do have some teachers who are periodically, we're trying to do it as low as possible, but periodically are now having to do a lunch duty. We have administrators, of course, doing lunch duties as well. So we are also looking at the potential of extending some of our current ed tech's day, have them work longer. So by working longer and paying them to work longer, they can maybe cover some of the bus aid duties and some of those responsibilities. We're looking to see if we can have some subs maybe come in they don't want to be ed techs maybe, but maybe they'll work for us for a couple months until we secure ed tech so that, again, we have more bodies. So we're trying to be really creative. So that's a huge challenge, Jim, right now.
Are we concerned about any kind of backlash from the teachers for having to do extra duties?
It's definitely a concern. It's a way, if we're not careful, we'll be burning out our staff, right? And so I want to be really mindful of the time that we're taking from them. Prep time is really important.
Agreed.
They need that prep time to prepare, especially in at all levels. I don't want to use the word especially at all levels. At the elementary, they're teaching multiple content per day. They need time to transition. They need time to prepare. It takes a lot. You have a board policy on teacher prep time. I am working with the Teachers Association right now and Angela to pull together a committee that would have staff representation from each of the elementary schools, the high school, the middle school. It would have administration from the high school, the middle school, the elementary schools, and Angela and myself to look at this very issue, to look at teacher prep time, to make sure that whatever we're doing, it is consistent as much as we can throughout the district. So that work is supposed to begin sooner than later because we understand the urgency in addressing the issue. So we'll keep you posted on that work. Certainly that information would be going to the policy committee.
How are we on volunteers now that COVID's kind of subsided? Are we allowing volunteers to come into the schools now, or?
We are allowing volunteers to go in and to work with classrooms. So if there are individuals who are out there who do not want a set schedule, but would like to volunteer, maybe 1 day a week, 2 days a week, absolutely.
Could they cover a lunch?
Potentially. What we have to be careful of, though, is when you have a volunteer, it is so helpful, but they don't have the requirement to be there every day or whatever day they sign up for. And so as life happens for those volunteers, there may be a day or two where they unexpectedly aren't there. And if we build a schedule with the expectation that so many volunteers are going to be there on certain days and then they're not there, then we're scrambling. So we just have to be mindful of that. But absolutely, if there are people out there who want to volunteer, we would love to have them. They should reach out to their building administrator.
Can we volunteer as board members or no?
You can volunteer. We have to look at that policy. It's kind of on a limited basis. There is some volunteering that can happen on a limited basis, yes. But we can look at that.
And if a volunteer from outside who doesn't have a child or anything in the school, are they allowed to volunteer without being fingerprinted?
That's an excellent question. We actually, it depends on what they're doing. We do allow people who have not been fingerprinted to come into the building to volunteer, providing it's a situation in which they are never able to be alone with a student. So if it is a lunch duty in which there will have to be other adults present, then we will allow it. It's kind of like the parent going into the classroom to volunteer in their child's classroom. They're not fingerprinted, but a teacher always has to be there. If there is the chance that the volunteer would be alone, such as coaches, right? And you have a volunteer coaches, they must be fingerprinted.
And getting fingerprinted, this is for the public, but getting fingerprinted is easier now than it's ever been before, and it's not
Because I know
costing.
it used to take a while.
It's not, it's up at the Viles Arboretum, you call and make an appointment, it's no longer cost prohibitive, it's really quick. So
This time of year,
this time of year it could get jammed. It could, because, but
the Department of Education is jammed.
yes.
The certification department is
Yes.
jammed. And so the latest communication that I had from the certification department is they're about 3 to 4 weeks, maybe it was 2 to 3 weeks behind. So if you're fingerprinted tomorrow, you're not gonna be able to begin on Monday.
Right.
It will take a little bit of time. And we do currently have 2 employees who we have not allowed to begin working because their fingerprinting hasn't come through. Actually 3, there are 3 now. And so that's a bit of a challenge. It will be nice when their fingerprinting is approved so that they can start work.
And that's a statewide cover.
The fingerprinting?
Yes.
Yeah, the fingerprinting is it's done by the state police.
Yeah.
And the results go to the Department of Education. We're only told whether they receive approval or not. We don't know anything beyond that.
Do they honor other states?
No.
No.
So only the stadies can do it? Because I went to a place across from Walmart, it was a private to get my state conditional certification, but that was 20.
No, I think it's only done by the state police. So
I
it's
can't think of the guy's
it's not
name,
a-
but I've emailed him enough times to know, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's actually the police that do it, but all of the information, all the prints go.
Go
They're
to.
there.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
it's a layered process, which is partly why it takes such a long, like,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah,
2 or
I
3
haven't been
weeks.
fingerprinted in probably 20 years as well. As long as I continue to be employed by a school district,
Right. No
my
change.
fingerprinting is renewed every 5 years.
Yeah.
So,
So for volunteers, anybody out there wanting to volunteer or apply for a job, make an appointment tomorrow to get your fingerprints done.
yeah,
Because it might take a little bit of time, and
Go to the head of
you
the
get a
line.
nice letter and a beautiful frameable certificate that says you're not a felon, and that you can work.
well, and that's nice, and that's good to know that my office takes care of that, so I'm
Yeah.
not involved.
No,
When I was fingerprinted, it was done by the state police.
It's not even.
that's not true.
It's the little-
Jake just
Yeah,
did
it's
it.
electronic.
You know,
Yeah.
certificate, a letter,
Thank you.
yeah. Just did.
All right, the only
It was
other
weird.
thing that I have actually for tonight is at the last meeting, Alyssa, you had asked for a board workshop and regarding transgender.
Oh, yep.
That topic, and to have an attorney from Drummond and Woodson come and speak with us. We've discussed this at policy as well. My question is when would you like to have that? Do you want it this month, next month?
Did the policy committee sense any kind of urgency with that? Did they, is there any guidance?
We had a robust discussion about a policy that reflects current statute, and it sounds like that was informed by Drummond Woodson
Mhm.
and other conversations that are happening. So yeah, we had a good discussion about it, so I could say, not necessarily urgency, but it would be good, it would be timely to do it soon, so.
That's gonna be more than 10 minutes to.
Yeah, so I'd be up for.
I can't
next
imagine a
month, but-
special meeting for 10 minutes, man.
Maybe
It's gonna
next
be
month, don't
all
you
of
think
an
that would be
hour.
better? Because we're still
Okay.
settling in for to the new year.
Sure. Yes, Jim.
I would, I don't know if there's anything scheduled at the school board convention coming up. But Drummond and Woodson puts on quite a few seminars there.
Tons of free
We
legal
might get a
advice.
few something in there. I'd like to do it after the convention if possible, just we can settle in, maybe that'll, because I,
That's in mid-October, right?
yes.
Or-
it-
Yeah.
towards the end.
Towards the end of October.
Yeah,
You
like
know, we could do it
Thursday,
November,
Friday,
that would be
October.
fine. I mean,
Yeah, that's a good call, actually. They do usually have a good.
I like their presentations and
Okay, we'll take a look at the calendar to
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
what works then. Okay, so everyone's okay with maybe targeting November?
Yeah. Gives us a
Okay.
minute.
Thank you for discussing it. I would have come if I had known, but that's fine.
All right, then the last thing I actually have is a legislative update. So I gave you a handout and I just thought we could take a few minutes to go through this. I attended, you need to go? All right.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for your
Good luck.
flexibility. Thank you, yeah.
Travel safely.
Thank you, thank you.
Be strong, bring tissues.
So I attended a legislative update workshop on Friday, put on by Drummond and Woodson. You can see it's very thick, but I kind of whittled it down to what was most important for all of you, or what I felt was most important. So the first one is LD 1845, and you can see there's just a list of items here that have been amended in various educational statutes. One, it's really talking about encouraging partners in regard to professional development, so really encouraging school districts to partner up. There's language that says public preschool programs must provide curriculum that aligns with DOE standards. We already do that. Let's see, we have instruction and engineering must be offered at secondary schools. We already do that. We have our STEM program. It meets that requirement. There's also language that says the local diploma must meet state standards. That language has been removed. So your curriculum committee this year will be looking at your diploma policy. That is already on Angela's radar. So any change that you see here, Angela will be working on in that policy in that particular committee, just to make sure that we're in line with law. It also does say that school units shall award a high school diploma to a student who has met the requirements of the student's IEP. I don't know how many of you were on the board a few years back when the law said that they had to meet basically the same standards as everyone else. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, so
Yes.
this is to rectify this and to rectify that and to say that whatever their goals are in the IEP, that's what they should be meeting.
And
And
maintain student privacy,
Right.
which is a really important part of that.
And that the state share of the cost to fund public education will be 55%. So they did reach 55% this past year. And so that is now in law that they intend to continue to do so. Now, we'll see if that happens, but that's there.
A nice goal.
The next one is to talk about potential innovative instruction and tutoring program grants. I put this in because I thought this might be a great opportunity for us to work with a community-based organization. The grant could be used to hire staff, provide stipends to teachers, paraprofessionals, cover some administrative costs. So that's something that I will speak with Angela, maybe we can pursue. The next one is important, and I will need to go into policies to update the policies to reflect this. But we now have, it was LD 598, prohibit discrimination in employment and school-based on hair texture or hairstyle. So the law now modifies the definition of the term race. And it includes traits associated with race, including hair texture. So our policies, our non-discrimination policies, our dress code policies, any handbooks will have to be updated to reflect that new requirement. You all know about free meals, but I thought I would put there once again that our students all have access to free meals this year. There's also update in LD 1931, rules for medication administration. So students now must be allowed to carry and self-administer prescribed emergency medications for like asthma inhalers, EpiPens, prescribed medications or devices for the management of diabetes. And they can do that with healthcare provider approval and our school nurse assessment. Whereas in the past, we've had policies in which students were not able, especially elementary, were not able to carry those things. Let's see, we have main care, a resolve regarding main care funding. I threw this in there because the Department of Education is supposed to develop a comprehensive system to support school districts in seeking reimbursement for main care. I don't know if you remember, a lot of school districts, including our own, we do not seek main care reimbursement. And we don't because of the difficulty in doing so. And the laws or the restrictions that were put in place a number of years ago made it incredibly difficult to actually comply with the regulations. And so a number of years ago, when we thought we were complying, we were actually fined. I don't remember, I think it was about $35,000 we were fined because we didn't do it right. And we were in great shape compared to other school districts that were fined 6 figures. So we stopped doing it, it wasn't worth it. So this is really exciting to think that they may actually make some changes to their procedures so that we can once again begin billing for main care eligible services.
And those things shouldn't be a gotcha. Right. You know, it's a place where government should be
Exactly.
working to help.
Exactly.
Removing
To help the
bureaucracy.
Right, right.
Yeah.
It should never be a gotcha, so this is good.
And what are some of the examples of the main care, like social services?
No, so it would be for a student who is main care eligible, who is receiving speech and language
Okay.
or physical therapy. We would be able to be
Bill.
reimbursed for those services.
Perfect.
So, and right now we're not. Let's see, a pilot program to encourage climate education. I thought you might be interested in that. Then we have LD 1874. We spent a lot of time last year talking about COVID days, right? Those 15 paid days. So the law was updated and I wanted to make sure that you knew what the current law said. So up to 15 paid leave days are to be provided to school employees for specified reasons related to COVID-19. And those days, paid days, are available to employees if they're unable to work. And I've provided a list if they have to quarantine, if they're advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine, if they're experiencing symptoms or seeking a medical diagnosis, if they're caring for an individual who is needing to quarantine, if they're a parent or guardian and are providing care for a child whose school or place of childcare is closed due to COVID-19. So the paid leave days are available from January 1st, 2021 until the days have been used. There is no end date, okay? Employees have those 15 days that you as an employer need to pay. They do not come out of any other type of pay.
And they do not have to be consecutive.
Correct. Also, this language also says, however, is that individuals who have more than 60 days of accrued paid leave on or after April 15th, 2022 are not entitled to take any of the paid
That's not
leave
acceptable.
days.
Not acceptable.
Well, so
I
we
want 15 more.
encourage people
Yeah.
to not use their days, right? It's really their short-term disability. So we encourage them not to use sick days. And now they will be penalized for not using those days. Now, you as a district can always choose to give it to them if you want to. That would probably be a conversation with the negotiations
I would think
team.
that should be,
The
Yeah.
other thing is, this is per school
yeah, the other
district,
persons.
all right? So if you have an employee that you just hired and they came from another school district and they used 8 days, they used 10 days, they used all 15.
Gotcha.
When they come to your school district, you give them 15 days, so they get another 15 days. I clarified that with our attorneys. Yes, they get another 15
They
days.
could jump from district to district.
Correct, and every year there's another 15 days.
Collecting 15 days at a time.
So anyways, I wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. LD 912, there is also an extension of the family medical leave for hourly employees. And the new law allows hourly employees who worked at least 900 hours in the previous 12 months to be eligible for medical leave under the same terms and conditions as leave provided under the federal family medical leave. So before they fell under the state, which gave them 10 weeks in 2 years. Now they have access to 12 weeks every year, okay? Another one is LD 775, and this is the definition of public employee. So historically, and your contracts have had language about this, that you hire someone and for at least the first 6 months, they're not considered public employees. You may pay them the same amount, the same wage, the same benefits, but there are other elements that they wouldn't have access to, such as the grievance process. Or maybe some requirement regarding discipline. That language has now been removed, so any new employee that we hire, they will have access to all elements within a contract. So what will be really important is to make sure that you have a robust probationary period, and you do. All of your contracts
I feel like
have
we
them.
did that
Yeah,
recently.
you do. All right, so the next one is 1429. And that is to achieve carbon neutrality in Maine by the year 2045. So the law, all it says is that beginning January 1, 2045, net annual greenhouse gas emissions may not exceed 0 metric tons, period. So as a school district, as school districts around the state, this will apply to us, to you. So I'm sharing this with you because you need to start thinking about how quickly 2045 will be here. You might not think so, Sophie, but trust me, it will be here before you know it. For those of us who are a little bit older, we know how fast time flies. And so I'm putting this on your radar because you as a school board are going to need to start thinking about ways in which we can reduce our greenhouse emissions in order to achieve this.
And this law was just passed under this
Past session,
administration. Okay.
by the legislature.
Yep.
Let's see. I will skip the next one and then go to the last one, 1579.
Before you leave that one, is this I know it says 2045 at 0. Is there a graduated scale to get to that, or it's just,
Not that I saw, Jim.
okay?
This is the only language.
Usually there is something
Correct.
along those lines.
But if you look at 1579, so skip one and get down to 1579, there is a transition for state and local motor vehicle fleets to plug in hybrid vehicles and zero emissions vehicles. So by 2035, which again is not that far away, there's an endeavor to approve school bus in a manner designed to result in 75% of school bus acquisitions to be zero emission school buses. And that the law also modifies the length of time in which school districts can enter lease purchases for school buses. So it has always been for 5 years. This law now says that if you are purchasing zero emission school buses, the term can now increase to 15%. 15 years. The goal is to have 100% of newly acquired light duty motor vehicles defined as anything less than 10,000 pounds. That would include buses, vans, anything along those lines, to be hybrid electric or zero emission by 2035. So I asked Andrea when your contract is up with Sear Bus, because you contract with Sear Bus for your entire fleet. She believes it's up this year. And that means that we're going to have to go out to bid this year for another 5-year lease. This is clearly a good time to sit down with Sear and to begin engaging in this conversation. I don't know what their plan is to move towards electric buses. I don't know the challenges. I heard a report the other day that like Portland had, I think it was Portland, was trying to purchase 2 buses for their fleet, not the school district, but the
City
the
buses.
city buses. And it's gonna be 2 years before they receive them. So
This could close transportation companies. I mean, maybe we should get in touch with the Amish. Giddy up.
I'm looking at I'm looking at our past legislative committee notes. And so this one was presented in 2021, May 4th, 2021, and there's not a position taken. I can't imagine we wouldn't have taken any position.
I have no
Do you
idea.
remember the superintendent's side, if there was?
I have no idea. I just
really
attended the
interesting.
legislative update,
Yeah.
and this is what I was told. So I want to make sure you know the direction that the state is moving in. And we certainly need to start thinking about this. Otherwise, as a district, we're not going to be prepared when 2035 or 2045 rolls around.
I have 2 questions.
By then.
You're full of questions, Matt, tonight.
What is the state doing for those less affluent districts that all of a sudden have to, purchase their fleet? That's an open-ended question. I don't expect an answer. It's just a general question.
Statement.
And then is Andrea already budgeting for the carbon offshoots that we could buy to get ourselves down to 0? Because it's all, 3-card money when it comes to being net neutral and all that carbon neutral type of thing.
bids, right?
We do have those. No, Andrea has not budgeted. I mean, this is all
No, I know.
new
I'm
language.
Part of it's sarcasm, but
There are
there's
some
a question in there.
there are some incentives, and there have been some grants that school districts have been able to apply for to help cover some of the cost for electric buses. My understanding, and I haven't paid much attention, I will be honest, I really haven't, because we have a contract through Sear, so I really haven't paid attention. But I think there's somewhere around $130,000 or something for a new bus versus a regular gas-fired bus is, I don't even know what they are now, 60,000, 70,000,
Well, they
so
have
they're
to be more than that.
considerably more.
They have to be more than
How many
60 or
buses do we
70,000.
have out there?
The infrastructure.
That's the whole-
28?
He just said it.
say 30, was my guess.
He just
Yeah.
said it. Infrastructure is the other piece of this. Who's
Yeah,
gonna pay for all
absolutely.
that?
Right.
Are we going to have to fit the bill for the infrastructure to support the electric buses? I don't.
So this is a
Well, then we gotta-
conversation that we should be having with our legislators, because it's a little bit backwards.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna make these rules,
Give us a map of how we're
there
gonna
needs to be,
follow
but
them.
there needs to be a map there needs to be a study that says we have all these kids, all these people that are learning how to fix cars. So they'll be all put out of work because
Exactly.
we don't have any infrastructure in place to start that conversation. That's why I'm wondering why we didn't have a conversation through the legislative process, because we talk about those things. If
Because
this is
sometimes
gonna-
they push
It's trendy to
things,
pass it.
they push it underneath, so people.
Well, but it's
are
on my,
not
it's
aware.
on my sheet for the legislative, I mean, I get, because I'm on the legislative committee, and I can just put that in my email and it comes right up. So that we wouldn't have had any conversation around this is interesting to me.
It's like
because there's-
California is about as green as you get, but they want to be green.
Right.
They just recently told us their citizens to not charge their electric
Put them
cars
in
because they have rolling
before
blackouts.
9.
Yes,
Right,
or
Because everybody
cook
gets home from
dinner,
work and
or
plugs it in.
cook dinner.
but again, it's because they haven't done the infrastructure work
Every day.
first to see what it will take to make this happen, and
The cold
it's
zone.
maybe a great idea, but we're not there yet.
But we still have the batteries that we're gonna have to get rid of too.
Absolutely, again, we need to know how, you can't just shoot them into outer space,
Not my problem.
so, Jim.
Few things.
I'm not
You
giving up my pickup.
mentioned
truck.
batteries aren't perfected yet, I don't think, from what I've read. We're working on semi trucks, so, but before, if we jump in, we don't want to jump in right now with electric, but maybe 5 years will be, they'll have some major improvement. That being said, something that may help us, and I noticed it, I just came back from California yesterday. Almost every parking lot, both student and faculty, have solar panels over the parking lot. And they're not paying for the solar panels. They have those installed, but they can take the credits that are generated.
Right.
They don't get any money out of it.
Right.
They provide a site. And we might look at that. And they're nice looking, and particularly in California sites, because you now can park your car in the shade.
Right.
And around here, I don't know how they do with the, because they are basically flat.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do with the snow, but you can't drive by a school and not see a solar farm.
Well, the Army, they're doing electric tanks.
Are they really?
No, I'm just kidding.
We'll be right over. We
I'm
gotta
trying to get a
charge
rise
the
out of
tank.
Matt.
We're off the, I'll tell you what, I figured that comment.
If it said electric subs, it would have been funnier.
Yes.
Googled buses and said that they range between 90 and 290,000.
Nuclear powers.
For for regular
For
buses.
regular bus.
For a regular gas bus, so.
Matt, Rick has got it, you're good.
So-
Let's not use Rhode Island for.
That's my report for this evening.
Well, it's exciting.
Question, how many homeless students do we have? Just out of curiosity.
I don't have that number. Alicia Morris is our homeless liaison. And at the start of the year, she's still collecting that information, so I haven't been told yet.
I'd be interested in helping with that.
Helping in that, and what do you mean?
In whatever capacity, clothing, support. I used to be a social worker, did social services. So there are more resources that a lot of people aren't aware of.
So
You send
in
her-
terms of helping
Yeah.
that way, that would be through our food bank. Our food bank is not just a food bank. There's clothing, there's all kinds.
That's with Ray.
With Rayanne.
Yes, because I have donated lots of clothing to her in the past.
But she, Alicia is not going to be able to share with you the names of.
Oh, no, I don't want that. I just was wondering how many we actually have.
Yeah, I will have to ask, but you said that you would like to help. I don't know what that would look like because she's not allowed to share names. But we certainly do accept donations in terms of food.
Or possibly, maybe we could come up with a shelter. Just for the kids. I don't know. I don't know what it would look like, but I think it's incredibly sad that veterans and children are homeless.
Yeah, we do have some families within our district who will take some students in when our students are couch surfing. Yeah. It is sad. You're right. That's all that I have, folks.
That's enough.
Definitely.
I
enough.
think we should go for another 40 minutes.
That might be the record
What's that?
like the one I
Move
said.
to adjourn.
Jim is on it.
Computer away.
40
Yeah.
minutes.
7:41.
And you ever. Diane, I'm wondering,
All right.
are we offline, Carrie?
We're done.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you all.
That was painful.